I know this is long, so I thank you in advance. If we aren't all unfortunately familiar on here with DARVO, it's a very manipulative, sometimes subtle, insidious, and crazy-making behavior that essentially reverses the victim and offender. The acronym stands for Deny, Attack, Reverse Victim and Offender. My mother is a narc, unaware of course, and I witnessed this happening the other day when I went to pick up my 3.5-year-old daughter from her house. I let her see her, low contact, and so far I haven't ran into many issues, but this has me rethinking. She had given my daughter her first haircut, albeit bangs, without my permission. And what's so confounding is that she didn't get why it would be a big deal. Is she that ignorant, that self-obsessed, or truly missing an empathy chip? To me, it's common sense. I have a wonderful 3.5-year-old, just so bright, kind, inquisitive, and like most kids, innocent and trusting. And her grandmother broke her trust that day, on many levels. My mother, a narc, moved up here, aggressively, and without permission, when my daughter was 1.5 years to be closer to her. When we were no contact, she sold her house in MA and bought one, sight unseen, in upstate NY, because of course she thinks it's a right. It's been tough to have her only 10 minutes away, in the town that we chose and established our lives in, but it has been helpful. But she knew what she was doing. She persists and boundary annihilates until she gets what she wants. It's her MO. And I've managed to not let her guilt trips of me not wanting to see often affect my boundaries, but it's hard. Yet, I'm very vigilant about her around my kid because I don't want my daughter affected by her, especially as she gets older. This incident proved that, despite her saying she's trying to change and honoring my feedback, she hasn't to the degree I need. There's progress, but not enough. Lately, my daughter's hair has grown long and is covering her eyes. I've been finding solutions as she's never cut her hair, and it's curly, mine is straight. And her gorgeous movie star curls are a point of vulnerability for my daughter, and she refuses to get them cut. Clearly, it was headed that way because she needs visibility, but I was making baby steps. She hasn't had a haircut yet because she doesn't have a lot of hair and wants to grow it, and it hasn't been a problem until late. So my mother was aware of the issue and how I was fixing it, with clips and headbands and French braids. It didn't work. My daughter took them all out. So I was planning on cutting essentially her bangs myself that evening. Her beautiful, big brown eyes and face were obscured. My mother was aware of the issue at hand. When I picked my daughter up from her house, where she had been no longer than 1.5 hours, they were on the couch reading, and her enabling life partner was there, whom I rightfully resent. He was quiet and dopey and passively complicit as usual. The moment the confrontation came, he slinked away. He's been doing it for over 20 years. Even if the face of objective and gross injustice or abuse, he's silent. My daughter had on a new outfit on, which is nice to an extent. I don't want to sound ungrateful. I say that semi-facetiously, because she's always buying her things, yet then saying I don't want her to be materialistic. But something else was amiss, different. Before I could identify that her hair was chopped, she said, "I cut her hair." Now, of course, I wouldn't want my daughter to see a reaction that would make her feel poorly, but I was set up. I'm not a perfect mom by any means, but I am a calm and non-reactive one who tends to put my daughter's feelings over mine. Yet I had to say something. I almost couldn't help it, and it's also healthy for my daughter to see me asserting myself. I was firm and calm, which tends to incite her more. She wants me to go low on some level, and I won't. "What?" I gasped. I couldn't believe how nonchalant she was. "I wanted to cut her hair. Why did you do this?" I turned to my daughter and let her know that she looks beautiful, and I try to tone down my anger. My mother looks like a toddler herself, one caught with her hand in the cookie jar. Uncomfortable and shocked, I had an issue. "It's okay, it's done, but did you not think this may have crossed a boundary?" I explained to her she could have called or texted me and asked permission. She kept persisting she was being helpful. Finally, a meager apology appeared. I realized she was looking for a thank you from me. How distorted. I could tell what was coming next. either a lie or attack. I got both. My daughter has no reason to not trust her implicitly, as she's young and as I made a vow not to disparage anyone in front of my kid since I had to deal with that regularly. But her grandmother goes sputtering and weaseling. She asked me to do it. Now, this isn't true. There's no way. I had been trying myself for a while to find an opening to do it prior to looking for other solutions. Of course, sometimes a kid won't listen to their mom and a third party can be helpful with something contentious, but this wasn't the case. Is that true? I asked. I find it hard to believe. And she erupted into a little laugh, I think many of you know the one, that told me what I needed to know. It wasn't true. I've dealt with my mom's inability to say sorry my whole life. Unable to take accountability and be okay with me being momentarily disappointed in her, she then, after trying to blame my child, went on the offensive. And it was clear as day. I watched it happen, which shows growth. I wasn't consumed by the fog. I didn't dissociate. Rather, I was saddened and disgusted and stunned into clarity. She walked to the other room. Her partner left. Just a large, awkward silence filled the living room where I did damage control with my daughter. It was very tense. Everything in me, all my conditioning, wanted to console her and placate the situation, because, let's be honest, as a kid, that meant less anger. She then comes back in and tells me I didn't react well in front of my daughter and should have done better and now have upset her, and that she was helping, and if she couldn't be trusted to do it, then who could? Now I was baffled and enraged, but didn't show it. She's just put this on me, I thought. Not only did I handle the violent boundary crossing with grace given the situation, she could have given me a heads up. She didn't, so I could process before I arrived. I stayed cool and calm despite this. Better than she could have done as a mother of a young kid, me or my sister. She was pouting but seething. I could feel it. I kept telling my daughter it looked good, and she was distracted playing. And of course, I said that Grandma did a good job. But to make matters worse, she didn't. It's as if she just took industrial scissors blindly to her bangs, which are near her eyes. They weren't even and sloped down. I said this to her privately, and she giggled, saying she hoped I could clean it up. I asked her for my daughter's curls, which I wanted to keep for a memento, and she scoffed but then left, and I heard her riffling through the trash before presenting them to me in a paper towel. Despite all of this, all of the manipulation and not respecting me as a mother, and just ignoring the last couple years where she saw me frustrated and figuring out solutions, and then trying to DARVO me as if I perpetrated this situation, what hurt me the most and sobered me up to my mom still being toxic was when my daughter later said to my husband, "Grandma was tricking Mommy. She said I asked her to cut my hair and I didn't want her to do it. I wanted Mommy to do it." It struck me that she was witnessing a break in trust. Since she's a little angel, she said tricking, but she meant lying. The cognitive dissonance baffled her. I chose to protect my daughter from feeling like she was being lied to by a trusted person, so I emphasized a miscommunication. But I maybe should have held a harder line, saying she lied and she shouldn't have. I did do that earlier, but in that moment, I faltered. I regret that. But how exhausting. Where's the handbook for all of this? I tend to forget myself in all of this chaos, while accommodating my mom's big feelings and rejection and, frankly, bullshit, and it's tiring. And it made me think, oh no, here she is doing what she did to me, to my defenseless, sweet daughter. She's toned down, but it's still there. Lying so easily, manipulating, punishing, gaslighting, triangulating, deflecting, all of it. So it's time I decide how to proceed. As a baby, it was okay for her to be around, but at this critical age where my daughter is a sponge and all of us are informing how she sees the world, maybe Grandma is too dangerous. On top of it, the slanted chopped bangs haunt me. She's impulsive, not measured. It wasn't terrible, and there was a part of my relieved her bangs were cut, but that's complicated too. And not the point. It brought me right back to being a kid and looking in the mirror. But here I am now, trying to do better for my daughter and to navigate these excruciatingly complicated, painful dynamics I never asked for. They are unfair. I inherited this. But all I can do is improve upon, protect my daughter and myself, and applaud myself for recognizing DARVO in action rather than being completely disoriented and paralyzed by this as a kid, resulting in eventual panic disorder and CPTSD. And I also began to reflect. This isn't the first time she's cosplayed as her mother. Whether getting her Halloween costume again this year, even after last year I told her that's my job and what I enjoy to do, or having her watch TV programs outside of our approved list. So I shouldn't be surprised. It was a crystallization moment, one where I was recognizing the reparative fantasy, and one where I was filled with such profound melancholy of what I went through and what I don't want my daughter privy to. But I didn't feel too triggered, despite my lack of mental health care lately due to financial reasons. Instead, I'm processing and coming here to share, because I have a feeling, sadly, many of you can relate. And if this can help or validate just one person, when I called my husband, he was shocked and angered, which did validate me, and I needed that, I'm glad. I knew the expiration on her influence was coming, and maybe it's now. I do, regardless, plan on having her apologize to my daughter for not just the violation, but also lying. Thanks for listening.